So my unpopular opinion is that unions in tech is a really bad idea for where tech is right now. Just think like we should
Interesting.
not even be contemplating unionizing. Like that's just it's the wrong path forward for us.
So for context, is there like what is the context of this? Is there
Okay.
somebody considering unionizing? I don't pay
I mean,
attention enough to
it
really, I
comes
guess.
up a lot of like, oh, well, if tech was unionized, we wouldn't have problem X, Y, or Z. Like, I think I saw it coming up on the changelog Slack of like, oh, like we wouldn't be getting replaced with AI if we had unions, and so I think like there's kind of like two pieces of why I think unions aren't a great idea for tech. The first is that we have a lot of like mobility and we like our mobility, and unions like usually are structured so there isn't like as much mobility. Like jumping from one job to the next probably won't get you that big of a raise anymore if we have like an industry wide union, because it's like, oh, this is your level in the union, you're just going from one company to the other, you will make the same amount of money as you did at the other company because it's union and we have a standardized contract, so everything is kind of the same across the board. And if we didn't have, industry wide unions, then it kind of opens the question of like, why should we have a union, why should we have all these small unions? And that's like, I think, do like it's not that big of a problem. If that was the only issue, I'd be like, okay, fine, whatever, we get standard salaries, that might be good in some ways. The bigger reason why I don't think we should have unions is because the model that unions have as of today doesn't fit with the structure of tech companies that we have. So if you look at places that are unionized, like whether it's like acting or like retail or what have you, there's usually a large number of people who are individual contributors and then like management, and it's usually very flat. In tech, we have a structure that has a very deep and tall management hierarchy, and also a very tall individual contributor hierarchy, which means that if you use the standard union model, you'll wind up with people in the union who are basically in meetings with the CEO all the time and have like the same amount of influence as a high level SVP, but get to be in the union. But low level managers who are like the first level line manager wouldn't be allowed in the union, even though they don't have pretty much any influence over what management as a whole does. Because that's the dividing line in union structures of today. It's like if you're in management, you're not in the union. If you're not in management, you get to be in the union. So, in order for unions to work in tech, we would either have to completely change the organizational structure of tech companies to make them flatter, or we would have to come up with an entire new model of who gets to be in the union and who does not get to be in the union. And I think that would be very difficult for how things are now, because you'd have to draw a line somewhere of like, this group of managers and ICs gets to be in the union and this other group of managers and ICs doesn't get to be in the union. And I don't have confidence we'd be able to draw that line very well. Because the thing you don't want in a union is to have people that are in high level management having lots of influence on what the union does, because then it doesn't make any sense to have the union in the first place, because now it's just going to wind up being controlled and influenced by management anyway, which is what you don't want, right? It's supposed to be like a separate entity that represents like the quote unquote people.